Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am here to film the mid-year freakout tag. This is my first tag I'm ever filming and I'm very excited. But before we get started, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone that's subscribed and for everyone that has liked and commented and shared my booktube newbie tag. It means the world to me and I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all of you. So I have the questions for the mid-year freakout tag. I will try and leave the questions linked down below for you so you can also participate if you'd like. The first question is, best book you've read so far in 2020? Strange the Dreamer. I absolutely love this cover. It's so nice and I love looking at it. At first, when I was reading this book, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I have seen quite a few people talk about this book, but when I picked this book up, this book was nothing like I thought it was going to be. I had a very clear expectation of what I thought this was going to be, and that was not it at all. So at first that kind of threw me a little bit, but once I got maybe a third in, I just started loving it and it just hooked me and I could not put it down. This book owns my whole heart and I would just like to shout out everyone who told me to read this. Thank you. But also, how could you do this to me? This book ripped out my heart and stomped on it and I loved it and I said thank you. The next question is, best sequel you've read so far in 2020, and I would have to pick Gemina. I read Illuminae, I think at the start of 2019, and I picked this one up at the start of 2020, and I absolutely love this series. I can see why everyone raves about it. Just, if you have seen this series talked about a lot and you have thought I should read it, I 100% would recommend it. It is completely different to anything I've ever read and I just love it so much. The next question is, new release you haven't read yet but want to, and I would have to pick You Should See Me in a Crown. I don't own a physical copy, but I have seen the audiobook and as soon as I can I want to pick up a copy, but I have seen so many people raving about this book and it just makes me want to pick it up even more, and the cover is so pretty. I love the color. The next question is, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. The first one I can think of is Star Daughter. I don't know a lot about this book, but I have seen the cover and I have heard a few people talking about it and I'm really excited for that one. Another one is Cinderella is Dead, and I've seen quite a few pictures of the cover. And the third one would be Kingdom of the Wicked. I read a sneak peek of it a while ago. I can't remember when, but from what I read it sounded really exciting and I can't wait for that one either. The next question is biggest disappointments so far, and I think I have two books for this answer. The first one is Passenger. I enjoyed this book. I read it for the Magical Readathon this year. This book felt a lot longer than it actually was at times. I feel like maybe there was a few scenes that were unnecessarily long, and that's not to say this is a bad book because I really did enjoy this book, but it made the book feel longer than it actually was, which made it difficult for me to read through it as quickly as I was wanting to, but I still enjoyed this book. But the second book is Good Morning Midnight. I just finished this book and I was so hyped for this book. I'd heard quite a few things about it, but I read this, actually I think I started this before the magical readathon. Couldn't think of a prompt to put it with, so I ended up not reading it, and then after I tried to read it, but after the magical readathon I got into a reading slump, and I was still trying to read this through the reading slump, and I feel like I was enjoying this book at the start, and then all of a sudden it just felt really long. The same with Passenger. I just felt like this book was so much longer than it actually was. I definitely think I would have enjoyed this more if I wasn't in the reading slump, but I guess that happens. So the next question is biggest surprise, and that would have to go to The Assassin's Blade. This is one of the books in the Throne of Glass series. I read Throne of Glass, and then I was told that I should read this before I read the second one, so I did. But I had heard quite a few not good things about this, but I actually ended up really enjoying it. I read through it pretty quickly. It captured my heart, and I really was expecting to not like it from what I'd heard, but here we are. The next question is newest favorite character, and I'd have to go Kate and August from This Savage Song. I wasn't sure if I was going to like this book, but I read it and I actually ended up really enjoying it. I read it quicker than I ever thought I could. I am a slow reader, so I thought this book would take me at least a month to read, but I think I read it in a week or two, and I just loved it. It was so cool. I liked reading about Kate and August and what they went through, and it was just a good book. Another favorite character for me would have to be Nikolai from the Grishaverse. I read Ruin and Rising this year, and there was something about him in this book that just captured my heart. He wasn't as prominent in this book as the last one, I don't feel like, but his parts I read and I loved reading about him, so I'm so happy with that. Favorite new author, which is new to me, which would be Nick Stone. I read Dear Martin this year. I listened to it on the audiobook, and I just loved Nick Stone's writing. I thought that book was going to be 300 pages, but it was actually less. But I ended up enjoying it, and the writing had me hooked. I just could not put it down. So if you haven't read that, I definitely recommend, and I really want to try and get into more of Nick Stone's books. A book that made you sad, All the Right Places. This book broke my heart. I had heard that this book was sad, but I definitely wasn't prepared for how sad I was actually going to feel when I read this. It ripped my heart out, and I was not expecting to be so sad after reading this book. It took me a couple of days to recuperate, but it was a good book and I definitely recommend it. The next question is a book that made you happy, and for this question I would have to pick a series. I finally finished the To All the Boys series this year, and this was just such a cute, fun read. If you are looking for something cute and something to just read through really quickly, I definitely recommend these books, and they just capture your heart, and the characters and the baking. I just love it so much, so definitely recommend these. The last question is, what do you need to read by the end of the year? And I have 4 books for this. The first one is The Bells, Nevermore, When Dimple Met Rishi, and A Court of Wings and Ruin. These books have been on my TBR for quite a while, and I just need to read these by the end of the year. And I've heard such great things about them, so I'm really excited to get to them. That's all the questions for this tag. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!